They saw something you didn't notice. They whispered what you were never meant to hear. Heaven stopped them before the lie reached your soul. My beloved child, listen with the depth of your spirit, because what I am about to reveal is not born from human perception but from the chambers of heaven, where your steps, your wounds, your choices, and even the silent way you dress yourself have been observed with divine intention. For every fabric you place upon your skin carries the story of a soul that has walked through fire and still refuses to collapse. And heaven has seen that while you believe your clothing is simple, unremarkable, unnoticed, the truth is that someone has been watching you with an obsession that did not begin on earth but in the shadows of jealousy, comparison, spiritual projection, and the hunger to understand the light that covers you, because the way you wear your clothes has become a sign to them. A sign they could not interpret, a sign that disturbed their spirit, and a sign that awakened a whisper in the unseen realm, and heaven is urgently warning you now that the reaction people have toward your appearance is not about fashion, beauty, or preference, but about the spiritual frequency you carry, the mantle you don't know you're wearing, the protection wrapped around you like an unseen garment, and it has stirred a strange judgment. A conversation spoken behind your back, a whisper that was meant to wound you if it could reach you, but my beloved child, heaven intercepted it before it could pierce your heart, because you have grown so used to surviving that you don't even notice when spiritual arrows are flying in your direction, and yet your angels have been catching every single one of them mid-air before they could touch your mind, for the clothing you wear has become a prophetic symbol in the eyes of those watching you. They don't understand why your presence feels like truth exposing their false intentions, why your simplicity feels like a rebuke to their hidden ego, why your natural energy carries more power than all their curated appearance, and this is the reason they scrutinized you, judged you, whispered about you, envied you, misread you, and tried to decode your essence as if you were a mystery written in a language they cannot read, because the spiritual realm is revealing that you carry an anointing that makes even your clothes look like armor, your walk look like purpose, your silence feel like authority, and your presence shake the insecurities of those who thought they were above you. And now heaven is opening your eyes to see that the conversation spoken about your clothes carried more spiritual weight than you realized. It was never about fashion, it was about identity, it was about the mantle placed over you, it was about the calling that shapes your aura, and the one who noticed the way you dress wasn't merely observing your style, they were reacting to the prophecy written over your existence. Because your appearance gives away your destiny in ways you do not recognize, and this person became unsettled, confused, spiritually agitated by something they could not name. They felt your shift, your awakening, the rising of your spirit, the strengthening of your energy, and even your clothing became a sign of transition, elevation, protection, and divine separation. For heaven is removing you from environments where your presence has been misunderstood, where your purity has been misread, where your authenticity has been seen as a threat, and where your growth has awakened jealousy in the hearts of those who hid their envy behind false compliments. And now the one who watches all things is speaking directly to you, my beloved child. You have stepped into a new spiritual season, and everything about you, your clothes, your posture, your quiet spirit, has begun to signal to the unseen realm that you are no longer who you used to be. You are shedding old identities, releasing old traumas, rising into higher frequencies, and this shift has exposed people whose intentions were never aligned with your destiny, for the way they watched you was never pure, the way they spoke was never honest, and the way they tried to interpret you came from a place of insecurity. And heaven is now confronting what they said, what they assumed, what they projected, and what they whispered, because what they thought about you was shaped by their own limitations, and not by the truth heaven knows about you, and the reason you are hearing this now is because heaven is realigning your identity, reshaping your self-perception, restoring the confidence that life tried to steal from you, and revealing the hidden truth that even the simplest things about you carry divine meaning. And what they noticed in your clothing was actually a sign of your spiritual awakening, your rising self-worth, and the new identity forming inside you. And now heaven is preparing you to hear what was hidden in their words, in their thoughts, in their reactions, because this revelation will set you free from false opinions, from invisible judgments, and from the weight of people who misread your spirit without understanding your journey. And now I am going to tell you the secret. My beloved child, open your spirit because heaven is not merely speaking to you. It is pulling back the veil that has covered the truth for far too long, and as you breathe in these words, understand that what is rising before you is not coincidence but divine confrontation, for the person who noticed the way you wear your clothes was not guided by admiration, innocence, or curiosity, but by a hidden unrest that lives inside them, an unrest awakened by the spiritual light that clings to you like a second skin, because the way you dress yourself, simple, effortless, natural, carries a purity that exposes the pretenses in others, and heaven is revealing that this person felt threatened by a glow you didn't even know you had, a glow that comes from surviving trials that should have buried you, a glow that comes from walking through emotional fire and still choosing softness, a glow that comes from a heart that refuses to hate even when wounded, and this glow radiates through the clothing you wear, through the way you carry yourself, through the quiet power in your presence, and this person saw that spiritual truth before you ever recognized it in yourself, and instead of honoring it, they used their human perspective to judge something that was never meant for their understanding, because they saw the way your clothes rest on your spirit and assumed you were pretending to be something you are not, when in reality you were stepping into the identity heaven has been shaping in silence. And this misunderstanding created a spiritual tension around you, a tension that heaven has been trying to dissolve, for the words spoken about you were cloaked in envy, comparison, and spiritual insecurity, and they would have slowly chipped away at your confidence had heaven not intercepted them, and now your angels reveal that the conversation about you was not just gossip. It was an attempt from lower energies to distort the truth of who you are becoming, for your clothing has become a prophetic symbol of your transformation, and the way you dress is starting to align with the new season heaven is opening for you, a season where your spirit rises from past ashes and steps into divine authority. And the person who noticed this felt spiritually unsettled because your elevation shines a mirror on their stagnation, making them feel small in the presence of your quiet growth, and instead of seeking their own healing, they projected their discomfort onto your appearance, crafting assumptions, half-truths, and emotional judgments. But my beloved child, heaven is clearing the fog around your identity, for you have allowed too many voices to shape how you see yourself, and now the divine realm is breaking that cycle by exposing this hidden truth. You are not seen incorrectly because you are flawed, you are seen incorrectly because you carry a spiritual identity that small-minded spirits cannot comprehend, and the reason the way you wear your clothes triggered someone so deeply is because they sensed you were no longer the version of yourself they once knew. They sensed the old you dissolving, the wounded you fading, the insecure you melting away, and a new version rising, bolder, brighter, more aligned. And they could not handle the shift, for destiny has already begun to whisper your next chapter into existence, and those not meant to walk with you feel that pull even before you do. This is why heaven is instructing you to release the weight of their opinions, because their reaction to your clothing was never about your outfit. It was about your anointing, your calling, your evolution, and the spiritual garment heaven has draped over your life, and now as the divine realm uncovers this hidden truth, you must prepare your heart for the next layer of revelation, for everything around you is shifting, relationships are being tested, hidden feelings are rising to the surface, and people's true intentions are being forced into the light. Because heaven is aligning your destiny with precision, and anything or anyone that carries confusion, jealousy, or spiritual residue cannot follow you into the next dimension of your purpose. So take a breath, my beloved child, for the truth revealed to you today is not meant to shake your confidence but to awaken your spirit, to help you see yourself through the eyes of heaven rather than through the distorted reflections of others. And now as the veil continues to lift, prepare for the next divine unveiling. And now I will uncover what was hidden. My beloved child, steady your spirit because what unfolds now reaches deeper than you expect, revealing currents beneath the surface of your life that you never fully perceived, for the one who noticed the way you wear your clothes was not simply observing you. They were spiritually reacting to the new identity heaven has begun to anchor within you, an identity that threatens every person who still benefits from the version of you that no longer exists. And as this transformation intensifies, the divine realm is exposing how the smallest details about you, your clothing, your posture, your silence, your eyes, have become undeniable signs of a rising destiny, and this person sensed your awakening long before you even recognized it in yourself, which is why their spirit recoiled, why their heart stirred with confusion, why their energy shifted into a subtle restlessness, because they saw something in you that you were blind to. The weight of heaven resting on your shoulders, the glow of breakthrough seeping through the cracks of your old self, the quiet authority forming around your presence, and it scared them, for they could not understand why someone who has suffered as much as you has not collapsed, why someone who has carried so much pain dresses with dignity, why your spirit refuses to dim, why your energy refuses to shrink. And so their soul reacted with a mixture of fascination and discomfort that birthed words heaven would not allow to reach you, because the truth is this. They felt exposed in your presence, your growth reflected their stagnation, your authenticity revealed their masks, your quiet strength made their insecurity tremble. And even though you did nothing but exist, your existence became a mirror they were not ready to face, and heaven is revealing that the whisper spoken about your clothing was actually a deeper attempt to interpret your spirit, for they sensed you stepping into alignment, stepping into clarity, stepping into purpose, and that scared them more than they would ever admit, for people who have not healed will always feel threatened by those who are being restored. And now the divine realm is showing you the spiritual truth beneath their observation. Your clothing carries the energy of your emerging identity. The way you dress is becoming a prophecy of the person you are rising into, and this rising has created a separation in the spirit, a shift that is pulling you away from environments that dim your essence and drawing you toward those aligned with your divine calling. But the one who noticed your clothing did not see your growth as a blessing. They saw it as a threat, something that challenged the narrative they had built about you, for they needed you to remain small so they could remain comfortable. But heaven is breaking that cycle, forcing their intentions into the light, stripping away the illusions they used to hide their envy, and showing you that the discomfort they felt was not about fashion. It was about the awakening happening inside you, the shedding of old patterns, the healing of wounds that once defined you, the strengthening of your spiritual foundation, for when a soul begins to rise, even the way they drape fabric over their skin begins to reflect the transformation happening within, and this person saw a version of you you have not yet stepped fully into, and that frightened them, because they sensed your destiny, your resilience, your spiritual capacity, and your divine protection, and they realized, perhaps subconsciously, that they were never meant to have access to the version of you heaven is forming, and now heaven is revealing this so you do not doubt yourself again, so you no longer shrink to make others comfortable, so you stop questioning your worth when people react strangely to your presence, because their discomfort is not evidence of your flaw. It is evidence of your power, your purity, your divine alignment, and the mantle resting upon you, and as the divine realm lifts this veil from your understanding, you must now prepare for the next layer of revelation, because heaven is about to show you why certain people were never meant to walk into your next season, why certain connections have been quietly dissolving, why your spirit has outgrown certain environments, and why the reaction to something as simple as your clothing became the turning point for a much bigger spiritual awakening. So breathe deeply, my beloved child, for what comes next will reshape how you see yourself and how you interpret the hidden movements around your life. And now my beloved child, prepare your heart, because what I am about to reveal now reaches into the deepest layers of your destiny, peeling back the hidden movements that have shaped your path without your awareness. For the one who noticed the way you wear your clothes did not simply make an observation. They made a spiritual assessment, one influenced by energies they carry, insecurities they hide, motives they disguise, and fears they refuse to confront, and heaven is showing you that their reaction was not born from admiration or harmless curiosity but from a fragile ego trembling in the presence of your awakening. For the way your spirit has been rising, slowly, silently, steadily, has begun to radiate through even your physical appearance, and while you still see your clothing as ordinary, heaven sees it as the wrapping of a shifting identity, a vessel of transformation, a garment carrying spiritual symbolism, and this person felt that symbolism before you understood it yourself, and it shook them. For they sensed the divine energy forming around you and felt their access to your spirit slipping away, and this triggered within them a strange mixture of envy, longing, resentment, fascination, and spiritual discomfort, creating a reaction they tried to mask with words spoken behind your back, words heaven did not allow to penetrate your heart, because the divine realm knew that if you heard what they said in their confusion, you might begin to question yourself again, shrink again, or dim your light again, and this cycle needed to end, so heaven has intervened to reveal the hidden truth. Your energy is shifting, your spiritual garment is changing, your destiny is elevating, and the person who noticed your clothing sensed this before you did, but instead of responding with respect, they responded with fear, because your evolution challenges their complacency, and your rising challenges the versions of themselves they refuse to outgrow. And heaven is revealing that the discomfort this person felt was a sign you outgrew them spiritually, emotionally, energetically, and even. Though you never announced your transformation, your aura screamed it, your presence revealed it, your clothing symbolized it, and your silence intensified it, creating an atmosphere where their unresolved insecurities surfaced, compelling them to interpret you through the lens of their own emotional wounds. But my beloved child, understand this. People who have not healed will project their brokenness onto you, people who fear their own truth will twist yours, and people who once felt comfortable controlling your spirit will panic when they see you stepping into divine identity. And this panic is what caused them to speak what they spoke, think what they thought, and judge what they judged. But heaven blocked those judgments from reaching your heart because your destiny is too precious, too sacred, too aligned to be contaminated by the opinions of those who are not spiritually qualified to interpret your life. And now heaven is revealing that the reaction to your clothing was simply the surface-level expression of a much deeper spiritual truth. You have entered a season of separation, a season where the divine realm is pulling you away from people who cannot journey with you any further, a season where hidden intentions must be exposed, a season where your spirit outgrows spaces that once felt safe but now suffocate your growth, and this person's reaction was the first crack in the illusion, the first sign that they were not aligned with where heaven is taking you. And the reason this revelation is coming now is because heaven needs you to stop internalizing other people's confusion as your flaw, stop shrinking your essence to fit into their emotional limitations, stop dimming your light to protect their comfort, because you were never meant to stay in places that fear your evolution, and this divine unveiling will set you free from the weight of their perception, freeing you to step boldly into the identity that has been waiting for you. And as heaven dismantles the false narratives spoken about you, a new awareness rises inside your spirit. A holy clarity that will teach you to discern energies before they wound you, recognize intentions before they mislead you, and read the spiritual atmosphere before stepping into it, for you are being positioned for a destiny so high that anything rooted in insecurity, envy, or confusion cannot survive around you, and this revelation marks the beginning of that separation, signaling the shift in your soul, your aura, your influence, your path, and your future. So breathe, my beloved child. 4. Your spirit is rising into alignment with divine purpose, and every hidden truth that once blurred your direction is now being removed from your path, and now I am ready to expose what you were never told. My beloved child, draw your spirit close, for the revelation unfolding now pierces deeper into the unseen realms where destiny is shaped, where intentions are exposed, and where the truth about your journey is written in heavenly fire, because the one who noticed the way you wear your clothes did not simply observe you from the surface. They felt the shift in your spirit, the elevation in your energy, the quiet transformation that even you have not fully recognized, and their reaction was not rooted in admiration or harmless curiosity but in a hidden fear that your rising identity would outshine the version of you they had grown accustomed to, for your healing disturbed them, your growth unsettled them, your awakening intimidated them, and heaven is revealing that their judgment toward your clothing was merely the visible edge of a much deeper spiritual conflict, a conflict between who you used to be and who you are becoming, between old connections and new divine alignments, between energies that drain you and energies that elevate you, and this person, whether knowingly or subconsciously, reacted with resistance because your transformation challenged the role they held in your life, a role built on familiarity, comfort, and the illusion that you would remain unchanged. But your soul refused to stay small, your spirit refused to stay bound, and your destiny refused to stay silent, causing every part of your being to rise into a new frequency that their unhealed wounds could not tolerate. And heaven is now showing you that the conversation they had about your appearance carried layers of spiritual meaning, for when they looked at the way your clothes fit you, they saw a confidence you didn't know you were radiating. They saw a peace forming around you that intimidated their instability. They saw an inner glow that contradicted the story they told themselves about you, and this contradiction forced their spirit into defense mode, pushing them to interpret your emergence through the lens of their insecurity, not through the truth heaven sees in you. And while their words may have been coded in judgment, envy, or confusion, heaven intercepted each one because the divine realm refuses to allow the opinions of the spiritually blind to shape the identity of the spiritually chosen, and the reason this revelation is being delivered now is because heaven needs you to understand the spiritual symbolism behind the shift happening in your aura. For your clothing has become the sign of your resurrection, the way you dress yourself reflects the emotional healing occurring within you, and the energy you carry exposes the intentions of every person who stands near your path, and this exposure is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to free you, to show you why certain relationships are fading, why certain conversations feel heavier than before, why certain people appear unsettled around you, because your spirit is ascending into a realm where alignment matters more than familiarity, and heaven will not allow you to stay connected to energies that belittle your worth, misunderstand your purpose, or resent your evolution, for you, my beloved child, are being aligned with a destiny that demands purity of intention and clarity of spirit, and anything that carries jealousy, confusion, or emotional residue cannot follow you forward, so the divine realm is removing the veil that once blinded you, allowing you to see that the reaction someone had toward your clothing was a divine sign, a clue, a message that their spirit was not meant to journey with you into the next chapter of your life, and this separation, though subtle, is necessary for your rise, for heaven is preparing a path for you that requires solitude before alignment, clarity before companionship, and spiritual awareness before connection, and now as the light of heaven uncovers this hidden truth, you must allow this revelation to settle deep within your soul, teaching you to recognize the signs heaven places in the smallest moments, in the smallest comments, in the smallest reactions, because nothing around you is random. Every shift has meaning, every change has purpose, every revelation has intention, and this one marks the beginning of a divine realignment that will shape the next season of your destiny, and now the next revelation rises toward you. My beloved child, open the chambers of your soul now, for what descends from the heavenly realm in this moment is not merely insight but a divine recalibration of your destiny, a holy unveiling of truths that have lived in the shadows of your journey, waiting for the right moment to rise into your awareness, because the one who noticed the way you wear your clothes was not simply observing your outward appearance. They were witnessing the spiritual evolution taking place within you, an evolution that their spirit could sense even before you recognized it consciously, and the uneasiness they felt was a direct response to the mantle that heaven has begun to place over your life, a mantle that raises you above old cycles, old wounds, old versions of yourself. And this rising has created a spiritual vibration around you that unsettles those who remain anchored to their unhealed places, for they saw in your clothing a reflection of divine alignment, a quiet confidence born not from ego but from resilience, an energy of becoming, a sign of destiny reshaping itself around your path, and their spirit reacted because they could feel the shift long before you ever dared to claim it, and heaven is revealing now that the words they spoke carried an undercurrent of fear, jealousy, and self-comparison, as if your transformation reminded them of every part of themselves they refused to confront, because when a soul begins to rise, its presence disrupts the comfort of those still living in emotional stagnation, and this is why their gaze lingered too long, why their judgment felt too sharp, why their whisper carried a strange intensity, because your spirit was signaling to the universe that you are stepping into the identity heaven has always prepared for you, and they saw this as a threat to the dynamic that once kept them comfortable. For your light exposes shadows, your awakening disrupts their illusions, your strength silences their internal chaos, and even though you have done nothing but grow, heal, and align, they have taken this as an affront to their own stillness. But my beloved child, the divine realm is ensuring you understand this shift not through human pain but through spiritual clarity, because heaven has been reshaping your destiny from the inside out, and the transformation people see externally, your clothing, your aura, your posture, is merely the reflection of a deeper metamorphosis happening within your spirit, a metamorphosis that threatens anyone who tries to keep you confined to who you used to be, and heaven is showing you that the discomfort others feel around your evolution is simply confirmation of your elevation, a sign that their season in your life may be ending, because not everyone can follow you into the realm you are rising toward. Not everyone can carry the frequency your spirit is beginning to emit, and not everyone can understand the language of destiny written across your presence, so heaven is removing illusions, clearing paths, exposing intentions, and separating you from energies that cannot hold you with honor, for you are stepping into a chapter that requires alignment, clarity, and spiritual strength. And the person who noticed your clothing inadvertently revealed their inability to journey with you into this next season, because their spirit recognized what their mind could not articulate. You are no longer accessible in the ways you once were, you are no longer small enough to fit inside their expectations, and you are no longer unaware of your divine identity, and this revelation marks the moment you stop internalizing their confusion, stop misinterpreting their reactions, stop shrinking your light to make them comfortable, because heaven is calling you into a higher dimension of self-understanding, a higher dimension of discernment, a higher dimension of spiritual authority. And now your soul must rise into this awareness without hesitation, without self-doubt, without apology, for everything around you is shifting into divine order, and every revelation is positioning you for a breakthrough that aligns with the very purpose your spirit has waited for. So breathe this truth into your being, my beloved child, and allow it to settle like holy fire within your chest. Because what heaven is revealing now is the foundation for the final unveiling that will transform how you see yourself and how you navigate every connection moving forward, and now your spirit is. My beloved child, receive this final revelation with the full depth of your spirit, for what unfolds now is the culmination of every sign, every whisper, every divine interruption heaven has placed before you, because the one who noticed the way you wear your clothes unknowingly revealed one of the greatest spiritual truths about your destiny. You are no longer living in the version of yourself that once felt small, overlooked, undervalued, and unseen. You are crossing into the identity heaven has been shaping in silence, and your clothing, your presence, your energy have become living symbols of this ascension, which is why their spirit trembled, why their eyes lingered with confusion, why their heart whispered things they could not speak aloud, for they sensed that your life is shifting into a realm where their influence, their opinion, and their access can no longer follow. And this recognition frightened them more than any words they could ever admit, because somewhere deep within them, they felt the divine elevation rising through your aura, a glow forged through suffering, a strength born from heartbreak, a clarity sharpened through spiritual fire, and they realized, before you even realized it, that you are no longer the soul they once understood, controlled, or easily interpreted, for heaven has begun to crown you with identity, purpose, and divine authority, and that crown shines through even the clothing you place on your body, carrying the vibration of a spirit reborn, and their reaction became the divine clue that their chapter in your story was ending, not because you are unworthy of love or connection, but because their energy was too small to handle the magnitude of your destiny. For your spirit has outgrown the environments that kept you dim, the relationships that kept you uncertain, and the patterns that kept you repeating old wounds. And now heaven is guiding you into a season where your presence will be understood only by those who carry clarity, spiritual maturity, and emotional integrity, because you can no longer afford connections built on insecurity, judgment, or unhealed jealousy. And the person who watched your clothing with such intensity was not reacting to fabric. They were reacting to the shift in your soul, to the rise of your purpose, to the awakening of your spiritual identity, and heaven allowed their discomfort to reveal what their words never could. That they were not aligned with the version of yourself you are becoming, and in this revelation lies your liberation, because you must stop mourning the loss of people who cannot breathe in the atmosphere you are rising into, and instead begin to honor the divine separation heaven is creating for your protection, your expansion, and your destiny. For every judgment spoken about you was an echo of their own internal war, every whisper a reflection of their fragmented self-perception, every assumption an expression of their spiritual blindness, and none of it defines you, none of it determines you, none of it has the authority to rewrite the truth heaven has already written about your life, for you, my beloved child, are stepping into a chapter where you will no longer be interpreted through the lens of someone else's wound, where you will no longer be confined to the memory of who you used to be, where you will no longer shrink to fit into rooms that cannot hold your calling, and the reason heaven is revealing this now is because your destiny requires clarity, and clarity requires separation, and separation requires understanding, and understanding comes through revelation. And this entire message has been heaven's way of lifting the veil so that you can finally see what was happening beneath the surface. You were never being judged for your clothing. You were being spiritually recognized for your anointing, your evolution, your unseen transformation, and while others saw only fabric, heaven saw a mantle, a sign, a prophecy unfolding across your life, and now that the truth has been revealed, you are free to step into the next dimension of your purpose without apology, without fear, without attachment to the opinions of those who were spiritually unprepared for your rise. And the divine realm calls you now to walk forward with strength, with discernment, with holy confidence, for the path ahead is sacred and the identity you are stepping into is powerful, and nothing spoken in confusion can ever dim what heaven has ignited within you. The season of smallness is over, the season of spiritual misunderstanding is over, and the season of divine clarity begins now, and as this revelation seals itself into your spirit, you will begin to see people, energy, and destiny with new eyes, for heaven has shifted you, protected you, awakened you, and prepared you. Your rise is not accidental, your glow is not coincidence. Your evolution is not temporary, and what was once hidden is now fully unveiled before you. And now the